Hello everyone. Today we'll be introducing a new topic called castling. So we all know that chess is basically a game in which each player is given an alternative turn, and in each of these alternative turn you get a chance to move only one of your pieces, right? However, in case of castling, you are able to move two of your pieces in just one move. Isn't that great? So let's get to know what this castling is and try to understand and use it in our games. So, so what is a castling? So as you can check out the video here, the king seems to be moving and also the rook seems to be moving. And as you can see from the video, clearly the king seems to be moving two squares in one go and the rook seems to be jumping over the king. So this is basically a king side castling here that we are looking at. We'll also look at what a queen side castling is. So the main point that you need to keep in mind is that king is sliding these two squares, right? As you can see, there are two types of castling, king side and queen side castling. So as there are two rooks originally placed, so you will be able to do castling on the left side or on the right side. Now, if we have to go to a queen side castling, then the king after two square movement would have ended in c1 square, and had it been gone to a king side castling, it would have ended up in g1 square. So we'll also look at how a queen side castling is done. As you can see, two squares slide and then that's it, the rook jumps over the king. So keep in mind, king moves just two squares. So why do we need to castle? Simple. It safeguards your king, it develops your rook. So we'll try to understand this based on the game position here. As you can see in this position, king seems to be in its original position, therefore all the pieces seems to be concentrating at the center itself, right? So basically your king seems to be in a lot of danger. And also the rook on the king side, that is in the h1 square, right? That rook seems to be hindered of development because of there are too many pieces in the center for the rook to move out. Now had just imagine that if the king has been castling, right, then the rook would have come to f1 square and then it would have further developed, and then you could have even doubled up your rooks in that open file, right? Now obviously if you had no idea about castling, then just think about this position where the king would not have any move in its vicinity, because that wouldn't have helped the rook's development. Yeah, the king could have gone to g1 square, but that wouldn't have helped the development of rook. Now the king could not even go to the square of d2 because the queen seems to be guarding the whole rank. Therefore you won't be able to develop your rook also, right? So it's simple. Had you known the castling technique, then you would have fared far better in this position, right? Now that we understood why we need to castle, we'll just look at some of the conditions that needs to be fulfilled in order to carry out a castle. Now there are three conditions basically. The three conditions are: first is that no piece should be in between the king and the rook. So it seems pretty obvious, right? If there is some piece, then how can you be castling? Now keep in mind, from here onwards, we are only thinking about king side castling here on when I'm explaining these aspects. So as you can see, we are looking at the king ending up in g1 square. So obviously in this situation, the path seems to be blocked by his very own piece. So you need to develop that piece also, which is your bishop in f1. Now the second condition is that both the king and rook should have not moved, right? Now now this specifically applies to the king, where if your king has been checked and if it has moved from its original position to some other position and then again it reverts back to its original position, then you cannot castle. Okay, castle can be done only if they have not moved. So in this position, as you can see, we are assuming that all the king and the rook seems to be in their original position and they had not yet moved. So in this situation, you can go for castling on both sides, both queen and the king side. And the final condition is the passage of king should not be under attack. That is, all the three squares, right? The starting square, the intermediate square, and the final destination square. All the three squares should not be under attack. As we are considering only king side castling here in this position, as the bishop is attacking the king's original position, so you won't be able to castle here in this position, right? Now let's just move the bishop further, and as you can see, this time this bishop seems to be guarding the f1 square, the path, the square that king has to cross. So here again, once again, you won't be able to castle. Now moving on, here again, the bishop seems to be guarding the final square where the king ends up had it been castled on the king side. So once again, you won't be able to castle again. Now, this is a important situation that you need to keep in mind. Here, bishop seems to be attacking the square where the rook had been, right? That is the h1 square basically. So here, in this case, you can castle because this bishop is not attacking the any of the squares that the king intends to move, right? So king can castle in this situation, especially on the king side. So those are the three conditions that needs to be fulfilled. Now, a small tip: keep in mind how to castle, because it's it tends to lead to confusion, because it's after all a two pieces movement, right? You can move make a castle with the rook also, but however that should not be the case. Keep in mind that castle is a kind of king move. You should always start with your king, right? Or else you could be forced to make a touch to move, and therefore you may have to end up making only the rook move. So this is how you need to carry out the castling. King needs to be touched first, and then you need to slide it over two squares and then put your rook back on the adjacent square. Now when to castle? See, uh, for beginners I would suggest go for castling as soon as you can, because after all, for the sake of castling, you have to develop at least three pieces now, right? Obviously, the rook also will be developed. Apart from that, the two pieces, bishop and knight, will also be developed. And also, the main thing, your king will be far more secure had it been in a castle situation, right? So that's the thing all about castling, and I hope you have understood the concept of castling and will be able to use it to your advantage in your games. Thank you.